Hi, everyone. Crista here with another episode of the Barefoot Genealogist. This is, I think, week 8 in our series of the 1950 census updates. Now, we've had updates every week, and this week we actually don't have any new states. So volunteers over at Family Search continue to review the computer-generated index that was created by the handwriting recognition algorithm at Ancestry. And there's great progress being made, but y'all are picking your favorite states. So the attention is a little bit diffused across the country, and so no single state has completed review to be published and updated on the Ancestry Index this week. But you continue to make fantastic progress, and I encourage you to continue to do that. Now, those of you who haven't joined us before or are a little new, I'll just give you a quick recap. The census came out on April 1st. Ancestry had all the images online within 48 hours, so they were all available to browse or use the enumeration district map to find by April 3rd. Then we applied our proprietary handwriting recognition technology to that census. It's the first time ever that a census has been fully indexed using handwriting recognition. We did that in 9 days, which was even faster than we expected after the years of preparation and training we'd been giving that AI. So we then delivered that computer-generated index to Family Search, and Family Search volunteers like you, I hope, and like me, have been reviewing those records over there to make sure that there aren't any errors, and where errors exist, we have the ability there to correct them. Now, as Family Search completes states of review, they're returning those to Ancestry. And so early on, we published states like New Hampshire and Maine and Wyoming and North and South Dakota. We've published the full complete indexes for the territories like Puerto Rico, Panama Canal Zone, Guam, Alaska, and Hawaii, which were territories at the time. And then last week, we were able to publish the state of Nevada as well, complete index. Now, the word coming out of that review process was that the quality of the handwriting recognition index was so high that a couple of weeks ago, Ancestry went ahead and published that full early index on Ancestry. So the full census is searchable on Ancestry. But other than those states and territories I just mentioned, the rest of the states are just the early index. So there may be some errors. Those will be corrected as the reviewed records come back from Family Search. So that's the quick recap of how the whole process is working, where we're at in the process. Like every week, I do have a special guest this week. This week's special guest is Connie Knox. You may know her from Genealogy TV. Welcome, Connie. I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, hi.
So tell me about your experience so far with the 1950 census, maybe a little bit about who you were expecting to find, who you found, how it's going.
I have been having a blast with it. And I have to say the search function on Ancestry, now that the indexing thing is kicking in, oh my gosh, I'm getting, 1950 hints all the time. And I have been able to locate my my father and my mother, and they were in their late teens at the time. And the cool part is too that I have been able to locate some of my mother was adopted, so I've been able to locate some of her adoptive family as well as her original biological family in the 1950 census. So, and you know what? I have to say, this is really cool because I have been doing this from the profile, in Ancestry. I go from the profile, I just hit that search. And then what I've been doing is on the left-hand side, I have been using the filters. Like I'll drill into USA, and then I'll drill into 1900, then 1950, and bingo, they start popping up. And it's just, I am impressed. Really nicely done.
Fabulous. I love that. And I love that you gave us another way into those records. We haven't talked a lot about search so far in this series. And like you just beautifully described, when you're on any person in your tree, you can just click that search button and it's going to automatically populate the search based on what you have in your tree. And then using those filters, drill right down to that 1950 1950 census. There is another way to do it. I don't know if you're aware of this. When you get that search results page, instead of using all those filters, there's a little toggle at the top of your screen. You can switch from record view to category view. If you switch over to category view, the 1950 census is going to come up as one of the very top databases on that list. It might save you a click or two.
I do have to say, though, one of the things that I found by using the search, no matter where you are, is because my mother was adopted. She's had several name changes over the years. Just to hit that little pencil icon and to change the name to what her name was in 1950 has also helped.
Yeah. And it's interesting, particularly for women. You bring up a really good point, because not just in your case where your mother's given name may have changed. When you do a search from your tree, it pulls in the maiden name, which is how we have her entered in the tree. But then any husbands that she had, it also populates that last name field with their surnames, assuming that she may have used them at some point in her life. And so clicking that little pencil icon to edit, sometimes you need to remove those extraneous names and just refresh that search that way.
Yeah, and sometimes no matter what search you're on, sometimes less is more, right? If you go into that pencil icon and maybe it pre-populated with a whole bunch of family members, if you remove some of those family members, sometimes that may deliver a positive result as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of different ways into the census, everybody. You can do a search from a specific person in your tree. If you go to the homepage on Ancestry, there is still a direct link to the 1950 census page. You can do searches there. What I find myself doing is I'll do a search from the tree as kind of a first check. If they don't come up right away, I'll do some of those edits that Connie just discussed. And then if I still can't find them, I'll go directly to the 1950 census database page. And one of the things that people don't know, I think I've heard you share this trick as well, Connie, that you don't have to have a name to search. The names are the single piece of information on most records that are spelled wrong or unexpectedly, written by their nickname or their middle name. And so you can actually go into the census database page. You can type in where you expect them to live in the lived in field, where they were born, when they were born, some other identifying information. Leave the name field completely blank. Sometimes you'll get a workable list that you can then kind of skim through, and you might recognize it with your eyes because it's your family, even though the computer didn't. I don't know if you've ever tried that trick.
Yeah. I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve too. And, I like to go straight. I'm a big fan of the card catalog. Thanks to you. I learned that trick from you many, many years ago.
Yeah.
But I do like to go a lot of times from the card catalog. I do hope that you guys don't get rid of the district finder, though. I do like that.
Not going anywhere.
Good, because that's got some maps on there that are pretty cool as well.
Yeah, just maps in general are such a great resource for family history. I think I started as a map geek long before I became a family history nerd. So just understanding the context of where things were. I was working with a colleague the other day, and she thought her family lived at a particular place in a particular town. And we went to that 1950 Census District Finder, and we actually turned off the enumeration district maps because you can toggle them on and off. And if you turn them off, it shows you a current map. And so on the current map, we found the address where her house was. And then we turned the enumeration district map back on. The house wasn't there. So she thought it had been built before 1950. Turns out it actually wasn't built until a year or two after 1950. So it wasn't even on the enumeration district map. So clearly they weren't living where she expected them to be living in 1950.
Wow, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. I have to say one more thing about the 1950 census, though. One of my favorite parts of it is the supplemental questions. I am learning so much about, because if you think about it, we're building that timeline for our ancestors, and some of those questions have to do with where were they a year ago, or, what was happening a year ago. So you can actually go, okay, in 1949, you could add that to your timeline in your profile, right?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, well, Connie, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell people where they can find you?
On YouTube, youtube.com/genealogy TV, or at genealogytv.org.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, that is about what we have for you today. I do see one quick question that I just want to answer and make sure that we're clear on that. So this is the question of the day, which is, I saw somebody in my family listed on the census as an inmate. Does that mean they were in prison? No, it doesn't. So inmate is a term that is sometimes used for students in a boarding school. It's sometimes used for people who are in hospitals or in any other kind of facility. So it doesn't necessarily mean incarceration in a jail or a prison. An inmate is just a term for somebody who is living in a facility of some sort. So make sure you go up to the top of the page, often at the top of the page or a page or two back in that census. It should list what kind of an institution or facility it is that that person is an inmate in. And if they are in jail, which happens, you might want to start looking in newspapers to see what additional information you can discover about what they did that landed them there. Well, that's all I have for you today. If you've got something you've discovered, something surprising, something inspiring in the 1950 census, we want to hear about it. So grab your phone, make a quick 2-minute video to share your story, and then you can send it to us at ancestrysubmissions.com/census. Until next time, I'm Crista Cowan.